2025, we talk a lot about the strength of modern women. You hear it everywhere. In the media, in corporate HR memos, in the endless stream of podcasts celebrating the girl boss era. We are told they are more successful, more independent, and more autonomous than at any point in human history. On paper, they have won. They have the degrees, the corner offices, and the freedom. Yet, there is a dark reality that very few dare to look at directly. It is the elephant in the room that polite society ignores. A vast number of women are silently reaching their absolute breaking point. This isn't because they are weak. It isn't because they lack capability. It is because the world has relentlessly demanded they carry more and more and more, while stripping away the very support systems that used to make life bearable. Right now, amidst the hustle of America, from the high-rises of New York to the suburbs of California, a silent breakdown is spreading like a virus. It is infecting women who look perfectly fine on the surface, but are exhausted to their core. You see them every day. You might even be married to one, or working next to one. She is the woman who wakes up before everyone else, fueled by caffeine and cortisol. She goes to work with a thin, practiced smile, a mask she welded onto her face years ago. She answers emails and texts with a calm that looks natural, but is actually a disciplined suppression of anxiety. And then she returns home with shoulders so heavy, carrying an invisible weight that no one notices. No one names what they are going through. No one sees it. And here is the tragedy. Sometimes even they don't realize it anymore. They have normalized their own suffering. This is the silent breakdown. It is a collapse that makes no sound, but it cracks the soul, piece by piece, until there is nothing left inside but a hollow shell performing the duties of a living person. As we move deeper into 2025, more women are pausing in their cars before entering their homes, staring at the steering wheel, asking themselves, why am I this tired? Why do I feel numb? Why does success feel like punishment? The answer is more complex than the slogans on social media would have you believe. And in this video, we are going to dive into the uncomfortable truth that many avoid. We are going to deconstruct why the strong, independent woman myth is finally collapsing under its own weight.
To understand why this is happening, we have to go back to the beginning of the lie. For the last 50 years, women have been sold a very specific bill of goods. It was wrapped in glittering promises of empowerment and liberation. The slogan was simple: you can have it all. The career, the family, the status, the freedom. You can be the CEO and the perfect mother. You can be the ruthless negotiator in the boardroom and the nurturing feminine presence in the bedroom. They told women that the home was a prison and the office cubicle was freedom. Let that sink in for a second. They convinced an entire gender that serving a husband and raising your own bloodline was slavery, but serving a faceless corporation and answering to a middle manager named Steve was liberation. It is the greatest marketing scam of the last century. And in 2025, the bill for that scam has finally come due. Here is the reality of the superwoman lifestyle. It is not freedom. It is just double servitude. The modern woman is expected to perform like a man in the workplace, aggressive, competitive, stoic, constantly in a state of fight or flight. She has to climb the corporate ladder, deal with office politics, and secure the bag. But when she clocks out, biology doesn't turn off. The expectation to be a woman, to be beautiful, to be social, still remains. So what you have is a biological mismatch of epic proportions. Women are biologically wired for nurturing, for community, for emotional connection. But the modern economy is built on isolation and ruthless efficiency. When you force a feminine spirit into a hyper-masculine grind for decades, you don't get a strong woman. You get a burnt-out shell. You get someone whose cortisol levels are chronically spiked, destroying her hormonal balance, her sleep, and her ability to feel joy. Society calls this hustle culture. I call it the corporate trap. They traded the protection of the home for the anxiety of the marketplace. And now they are realizing that the corporation doesn't love them back. The corporation won't hold their hand when they are sick. The corporation won't grow old with them. They gave their best years to building someone else's empire, chasing a title that can be replaced in a week, only to come home to an empty apartment and a box of wine. The independent woman isn't independent. She is just dependent on the state and the employer instead of a husband. And unlike a husband, the state and the employer view her as nothing more than a tax ID number and a productivity unit. This is why she is collapsing. She is fighting a war on two fronts, against the world and against her own nature. And she is losing both.
Now, let's look at the symptoms. How do you identify a woman who is in the middle of this silent collapse? You don't listen to what she says, because she has been trained to say the right things. She has read the self-help books. She knows the buzzwords like mindfulness and emotional intelligence. Instead, you must look at what she projects. You look at the eyes. There is a specific look that is becoming terrifyingly common in 2025. Some call it the 1,000-yard stare. I call it the dead-eye phenomenon. You sit across from her at a dinner date. The lighting is romantic, the food is expensive, and she is smiling. But look closer. The smile doesn't reach the eyes. The muscles around the mouth are engaging, but the eyes remain flat, glassy, and completely detached. It's as if you were looking at a beautifully painted mannequin. The lights are on, the makeup is flawless, the lashes are extended to perfection, but the spirit has left the building long ago. She is physically present, but psychologically, she is dissociated. She is hovering somewhere above the table, watching herself perform the role of a happy woman, because that is what the script demands. Why is she like this? Because she is emotionally bankrupt. The modern world has extracted every ounce of genuine feminine energy she had. The corporate grind took her patience. The bad boys she dated in her 20s took her innocence. The social media algorithm took her attention span. By the time she sits across from you, she has nothing left to give. She is operating on a deficit, and this is where it gets dangerous for you as a man. Because nature abhors a vacuum. If she is empty, she needs to be filled. Not with love. She doesn't have the capacity for genuine, sacrificial love anymore. She needs to be filled with resources, with stability, with attention, and with energy. This leads to the most toxic dynamic in modern dating, the transactional relationship disguised as romance. When a woman is silently collapsing, she views men not as partners, but as life rafts. Imagine a drowning person in the middle of a dark ocean. Do they care about the color of the life raft? Do they care about the personality of the life raft? No, they just want to grab onto something, anything that will keep their head above water. That is you. You are not a lover to her. You are a utility. You are the infrastructure she needs to keep her collapsing life from falling apart completely. You will notice that her questions are often interrogations about your utility. What do you do? Do you own your house? What are your 5-year goals? These aren't questions born of curiosity, they are risk assessment calculations. She is scanning you for weaknesses and assets. She is tired, she is battered by the world, and she is looking for a place to rest. But here is the catch. She wants your stability, but she resents you for having it. She resents that you haven't been broken by the world the way she has. Furthermore, look at how she copes with this numbness. In 2025, the pharmaceutical industry is making a fortune off this demographic. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, sleep aids, these are the fuel that keeps the strong, independent woman engine running. If it's not pills, it's the wine mom culture, where drinking a bottle of wine alone at night is framed as self-care, rather than alcoholism. Or it's the dopamine addiction of TikTok and Instagram, scrolling for hours to numb the silence in her head. This chemical and digital numbing creates a wall. You cannot connect with her because she is not connected to herself. She has severed the link to her own femininity to survive in the corporate jungle. When you try to offer her affection, it bounces off. When you try to lead, she fights you, not because she has a better plan, but because submission requires trust, and she has lost the ability to trust. She is a soldier who has forgotten how to take off the armor, and a soldier in armor can only be fought. This is the tragedy of the silent breakdown. It makes her unlovable exactly when she needs love the most. But as a man, you must understand this is not a problem you can fix.
Gentlemen, this is the part where you need to listen very closely, because this is where most good men lose everything. We are biologically wired to protect. When we see a woman in distress, when we see those cracks in the armor, our instinct screams at us to step in. We want to be the hero. We want to fix the leak, shore up the foundation, and make her feel safe again. It is the white knight syndrome, and in 2025, it is the most dangerous instinct you possess, because you are not walking into a fairy tale to save a princess from a dragon. You are walking into a burning building that the occupant set on fire herself. Here is the cold, hard truth about the silent breakdown. A drowning person does not want to be saved. They want to survive. And in their panic, in their desperate flailing to keep their head above water, they will climb on top of you. They will push you down to lift themselves up. They don't do it out of malice, they do it out of instinct. When you try to save a woman who is collapsing from the weight of her own choices, you do not become her partner. You become her buoyancy aid. You become the collateral damage in her war against reality. Think about the energy transfer. You have spent years building your value. You have cultivated your peace, your resources, your stoicism. You are a battery fully charged. She is a machine that is short-circuiting. When you plug yourself into her, you don't fix the machine. The machine simply drains the battery until it is dead. You will find yourself listening to hours of her venting about her job, her toxic friends, her anxiety. You will offer solutions, logical, practical solutions, and she will reject every single one of them. Why? Because she is addicted to the struggle. The struggle gives her identity. Without the overwhelmed modern woman narrative, she doesn't know who she is. And what happens if you actually succeed? Let's say you sacrifice your mental health, your wallet, and your time to put her back together. Let's say you nurse her back to health. Do you think she will love you for it? History and psychology tell us the answer is no. Once she is healed, once she feels strong again, she will look at you with resentment, because you are the witness to her weakness. You are the reminder of the time she was broken. She will lose respect for you because you tolerated her chaos. Women desire men they can look up to, not men who act as their therapists or emotional janitors. This is the cruel irony of the savior complex. By saving her, you doom the relationship. She will leave you for the bad boy or the high-value man who never would have tolerated her breakdown in the first place. She will view him as a prize because he requires her to be perfect. She will view you as a safety net because you accepted her when she was flawed. And nobody falls in love with a safety net. They just use it, pack it away, and move on to the trapeze act. Furthermore, engaging with a woman in silent breakdown introduces a level of volatility into your life that can destroy your own progress. We live in a society where a man's value is built on his ability to remain constant, focused, and productive. Her chaos is contagious. Her stress will become your stress. Her sleepless nights will become your sleepless nights. Her financial mismanagement will eventually bleed into your accounts. You cannot build an empire if you are constantly putting out fires in the kitchen. So, what is the alternative? It is not cruelty. It is not hatred. It is indifference and boundaries. It is the realization that her journey is her own. You can observe the collapse from a distance, you can understand it, but you must not absorb it. You must protect your peace, as if your life depends on it, because in 2025, it does. Let the myth collapse. Let the facade crumble. Do not stand under the falling debris trying to hold it up. Step back, watch, and wait for the dust to settle. Only then will you see what is truly real. This brings us to the final lesson. The silence we talked about at the beginning, it is not empty. It is full of answers, if you are brave enough to listen. The experiment of the last 50 years, the attempt to rewire biology and ignore human nature, has failed. The strong, independent facade is crumbling, not because of patriarchy, but because of exhaustion. The lesson for you is simple. Stop trying to hold up a falling sky. You cannot negotiate with burnout. You cannot love someone into sanity. When you see a woman in the grip of this silent breakdown, understand that she is paying the price for a script she chose to follow. It is a harsh price, yes, but it is not your debt to pay. Do not bankrupt your own soul to pay off someone else's emotional mortgage. My message to every man watching this is one of reclamation. Reclaim your attention. Reclaim your validation. For too long, you have been told that your value lies in how much you can endure, how much you can fix, how much you can provide for those who resent you. That ends today. Your value is in your purpose, your vision, and your peace. Build a life so solid, so fulfilling, that you do not need to rescue anyone to feel like a hero. If you're still watching, it means you are part of the few who see reality clearly. You are the observer amidst the chaos. Do not let the silence drag you down. Let it sharpen you. Let it remind you that while the world chases illusions, you are building something real, something that lasts. If you recognize this silent breakdown in the people around you, I want to hear from you. Scroll down and comment the words, "I see the truth." Let the algorithm know that we are awake. And if you want to arm yourself with more unfiltered psychology and dark truths about the modern world, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. The myth is collapsing. Don't let the debris fall on you. Wake up. The era of the strong, independent woman is ending, not with a bang, but with a silent, exhausted whimper. You do not need to participate in the funeral. You have a life to live. The myth is collapsing. Don't let the debris fall on you. Wake up, stand tall, and walk your own path.